Hey everyone, this is Nolan from Asia Pacific Gardening. My dad Robert is not here today, so you get to deal with me. And it's officially October, so that means it's Halloween season. And a common pastime during Halloween, of course, is pumpkin carving. And you may be wondering, Nolan, what does this have anything to do with bonsai? Well, because today we're going to be carving a pumice, and then we're going to make a special bonsai with this material here. Let me show you how. So this is the material that I'll be using here. I got a pumice stone, I have a ceramic pot, but you'll notice it doesn't have a hole, and I'll explain why in a bit. And I also have a 8-year-old Carmona or Fukien Tea Tree. It's been in a training pot for a bit, but this is the premise of the 3 materials that I'll be using. What I'll be doing is making a pumice stone like this, carve some sort of a design, and then plant that Carmona tree into this pumice stone here. It should look like a pretty cool display. I've tested this style with a few different trees with some pretty good success. I just wanted to show you what I'm doing with this and why this bonsai container doesn't have a hole. You'll see. You can see there's this weird little divot here. This used to be a fountain container, and we used to sell fountains and manufacture them. So I'm actually going to be putting this stone, submerge it in water, and then this tree will be growing on top of it. So what I do first is I pick up the pumice and try to find where I want to plant the tree. So I like the position of the rock in this bowl here like this, and this gives me plenty of area to work with. So what I'm gonna do next is carve out a hole here deep enough to plant this bonsai tree in there. And then after I do that, I'll look at the rock again, maybe design it to fit this container a little bit more. And the tools that I'll be using, it's actually just a small little chisel here, plus a hammer, and that's all I'll use to carve this divot here to plant this tree. So let's see how it goes. And pumice is really light, it's deceptively light. There's a lot of air pockets in there, and this stone absorbs a lot of moisture. And this is why this type of rock works so well with what I'm doing. So I'm gonna start by carving a hole up here. And oftentimes when you're carving it, the rock may fall apart. So it may actually break in this video, but we'll see what happens. Okay, let's move this pot. I know this isn't a typical bonsai, but you know, I feel like bonsai is a free art form, and I like to push the envelope sometimes and create new things that has never been done. So you may not like this style, and that is totally okay. This just isn't a style for you. But I like to create new things, you know. Because if you don't push the envelope, art will stay stagnant and it will never grow. That's my philosophy, but what do I know? See? Really easy to chisel out. And I can save these for bonsai decoration pieces later too. So just like that, I've already created a pretty nice divot, and I'm just gonna keep working on it until I get maybe that deep. Okay, I'm gonna keep making this a little bit deeper because I wanna make sure there's plenty of room for the roots, plenty of room for soil, and I will be planting a tree in here just like I would any ordinary bonsai. It's just this will now be your bonsai container. Hopefully you start to see it. And sometimes it's even easier to just old school, just chisel it away. This part's pretty boring, so I may just skip this part here and show you the end result. And this is where you really need to be careful. Because sometimes you hit it wrong and it breaks. You're like, oh no! I can literally break them apart, just like that. And yes, I can use power tools, but I don't have the right power tool, so I'm using what's available here. This has moved closer and closer. And you want to create a deep enough divot where you can safely plant the tree, allow it room to grow. Progress I've made. Look at this. I'm gonna wear this like a boxing glove. Got a little bit more to go. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but drilled a little too hard. Now there's a little hole that went through. So we'll see, which actually will work because I want to plant the cascade style this way. And this will allow me drainage hole so the water can come out. So I made a pretty good sized hole. I think it's almost time to plant the bonsai tree here. I do need to do some sculpting on the rock first. Clearly, working with pumice, you make a big mess. And you know, it's Halloween season. I gotta take a break and gotta have a piece of candy. And most people don't know you can actually eat this stuff. And no, I'm not eating pumice chunks. That would be ridiculous. What I'm eating is freeze-dried candy from Galactic Druid Treats, who is a sponsor of today's video. Galactic Druid Treats will take your favorite candy and freeze-dry them in the freeze dryer at temperatures down to -20 degrees. And when it hits that temperature, the moisture will turn into a gas, but it still retains the original flavor of the candy. The best thing is, all the sticky caramel stuff that usually sticks to your teeth will now no longer stick to your teeth because there's no moisture. So if you got dentures, braces, and have wanted to enjoy good caramelly goodness, you can do it with Galactic Druid Treats. If you visit galacticdruidtreats.com and use promo code BONSAI at checkout, you can enjoy a 10% discount on our behalf and they'll ship it straight to your door. Thank you again to Galactic Druid Treats for the candy and sponsorship. Back to the video. So after studying the placement of the rock, I think I want to plant it something like this. And then I want the tree kind of coming out something like this. But as you can see, this rock is a little too big. It doesn't really fit in here. So I'm gonna chop off this side, chop off a little bit more, maybe add some detail, and then we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna chop off this chunk. All I'm gonna do is take the chisel thing and a hammer and just knock it out like this. Just kidding, don't eat this stuff. Eat the candy, but don't eat pumice chunks. Now I already have some room to fit in here. I'm gonna shave this side off a little bit more just to add some character. And I'm just gonna chop it off like this. Now it fits a lot better. I want to add some more detail though, so I'm going to chop off a little bit more here. Just to give it a more cliffside look. Maybe even here. Huh? Something like this. You see it? You see it? I can go a little bit more. Go a little bit more dramatic, you know. And you may be wondering, am I going to plant it like this? Of course not. I'll show you how in a little bit. So I'm going to take this out of the pot and then see what it looks like in there. And, you know, at first I thought about planting it like this, but then I don't know, I didn't like the way it looked, so I think I'm gonna go something like this. I do a lot of hiking here in the Pacific Northwest, and trees often grow out from the side of the mountains, curve up, and then the wind from here would kind of blow all of them going this way. You kind of see the motion? And then when planting it in a pumice stone like this, you already have a drainage hole here. I don't know if you can see from the camera. So that's the hole that would normally act as the hole in your bonsai container. So I would put a mesh screen over that, put some lava rock in there, and then plant it like a regular bonsai. So let's do that. Got a little mesh screen. Just gonna place that in there. Just like that. Let's just plant it like this, remember? So I'll put lava rock in there, soil, and then plant the tree. And actually, before I put the screen and the lava rock, there's something I like to do first with the pumice stone, with the style that I'm doing. Pumice stones absorb a ton of water, and when the stone is so dry like this, it'll just dry out the soil inside very, very quickly. So what I always like to do is get a bucket of water and just dunk this in, and then let it absorb as much water as it possibly can. And then you can see all those bubbles coming out. There's a lot of air pockets in the pumice stone. And when the pumice stone absorbs all this water, it helps maintain the moisture of the plant. And you'll understand the reason I want to do this once I finish the piece. A few moments later. I think this is good enough now. And this is a lot heavier now. And the color of the rock has also changed into a dark orange. So that lets you know it's absorbing moisture well. So let's move on to the next part. Back to this table here. I added the screen, layer of lava rock, and then a layer of soil. Now I'm gonna install this tree in here. I wanted it like this. Yeah, so now you can have the tree growing out and down cascading. I'm gonna install it like this. I'm gonna reuse the same soil as I was living in before. Because it's still good soil. Get the air pockets out. And technically you can have a bonsai like this, right? But I wanted to angle it to give it a better dramatic effect. You can even go a little bit further like this. So you now may be wondering, well, how are you going to plant this in here? Let me show you. Okay, so in order to plant it in here and secure it like this, I actually use pumice. And this is the same pumice that we mix in our soil. So I add a little bit in here. Give a base, stick this to the way that I want, something like this. I think this is pretty good. I'm gonna add water in it just so you can see the difference here in a second. And pumice absorbs a lot of water. Clean up the rock a little bit. Next step, I'm going to decorate with some moss. And because there's so much moisture on this pumice stone, the moss will just continue to grow. Need more here. Put some here, spread. So there you have it. There's this. It's not perfect. I probably want to let this grow out a little bit more so I get this dramatic curve going on here. But this is my idea of a pumice carved self-watering bonsai. And it's self-watering because a pumice absorbs so much moisture, it actually prevents your soil from drying out. And this is just a art style that I came up with. Is this a traditional bonsai? Absolutely not. But I feel like this is a pretty unique piece. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, click like, subscribe, hit the notifications. We put out new videos every single Friday, and they're always bonsai related. Thank you everyone for your support. We'll see you next week.